Okay, so today, guys, I have brought to you Pfizer. Now, their slogan is working together for a healthier world. Pretty self-explanatory. It's just, obviously they want to produce a healthier world because what are they? They are a kind of like a pharmaceutical company, So, next slide. Let us go to company profile. Let's go to mission statement. To become the world's most valued company to all of these people, and their vision statement as being innovate to bring therapies to patients that significantly improve their lives. What does that mean? Kind of, their common goal means cheat off. Desire big and powerful, and high value. That's what they want. They want profit, guys. Honestly, any pharmaceutical company, what do they want? To make money and make really good, important medicine, those type of things. And they also wanted to focus on creating medicines and any other type of medical products. But guess what? If you click next, you will see what Jinri thought. Yay! I thought Pfizer was a startup company, which is a COVID vaccine is created by Pfizer to the moon. Let's just invest in Pfizer because that's what I thought Pfizer was. So as you guys know, Pfizer had a super duper long history. Like I said, we're going to start way back in the 1800s to Charles Pfizer and Charles Erhardt. So next slide, let's go. Actually, on the right was Pfizer, and then the left was the other guy. So Pfizer was as you guys know, born in Germany, but he actually moved to the US in 1848, guys. Now, Charles Erhardt is actually his cousin. These two guys were like, we moved to US to start a new opportunity. Pfizer was a pharmaceutical, chemist. He does a lot of all those things. In 1849, next slide, they actually wanted to develop a company. So his dad gave him $2,500 at the time, which is a lot of money. And their first product was this chemical symbol. Now, so this was santonin, guys. And unfortunately, it's not ozone. It is santonin, which was an anti-parasite. Ta-da! So, as you guys know, the anti-parasitic means definitely to treating worms, roundworms mostly, but most type of worms, right? And they actually extract it from a type of plant, which kind of looks like that. This plant is called Artemisia cinna plant. So basically, they take out the chemicals inside. After that, what happened in 1860s? Now, next chemical test. Let's go. What is this? This is tartaric acid, guys. So during the Civil War, people needed medical kits, and they needed to figure out a way to treat their medical issues if they get wounded or anywhere. So what did they need? They didn't know any alcohol, substance. They didn't have anything. So they used this acid to treat their wounds. So the Union Army soldiers would treat the wounds and disease using the tartaric acid. And they actually took it in their medical kits. So if you click on the next, you will see their Civil War. The funny story about the tartaric acid was that before it was actually imported outside of the US, but because of the protective tariff against the imported tartars, Pfizer was like, you know what, guys? I'm gonna create my own. So they actually started a local production of tartars. And how it was created was they made from the hard residues that was left in wine casks. Now, in 1880, what happened was that this happened. So this was citric acid. Where citric acid is actually being used was soft drinks. Coca-Cola. They actually used their standard procedure to create this. which was basically obtaining the citric acid from unripe fruits, where they got it from like Italy, so outside of US sourcing, so they imported it, or they actually got it from California, Florida, so like, you know, the warm places and everything. And they treat it with lime and sulfuric acid to create a solution of crystallized citric acid. Now, what happened next is another war, World War I. Now, unfortunately, because of World War I, there was another shortage of the citric acid, and so because they, had to import it from Italy, that didn't work out. What they had to do was James Curry's was like, he's a food chemist, and he brought this method of saying, hey, Pfizer, I know how to get some citric acid. I'll show you how to get some citric acid. And they actually noticed that fungus had some, they could get the fermented sugar to actually create into citric acid, to create actually a massive citric acid. Because like I said, because of World War I, they had shortage. And then after that, what they actually discovered was this method called deep tank fermentation. Now, what deep tank fermentation is very, very important, and it will come very important to the next slide. So if you see, it's basically putting the chemicals inside this big fermented tank with a lot of sugars and other things added. And that's how they used it, and it was actually very, very successful. One of their also biggest success using that at the time was gluconic acid. We'll go to 1936. This, guys, was actually, if you click on the next slide, vitamin C. So Pfizer at this time was, they actually started getting connection to like pharmaceutical and food industry. So they were really interested in vitamin C. So what they are good at is if someone discovers a way to create any like vitamins or any type of things, what they do is basically figure out a way to make a lot of them. Mass production. They would run 24 hours in a factory 7 days a week. At the time, it was very necessary, and that's what they're good at. So they were able to create so much. Moving on to 1941, if you go to the next slide, is what you guys might have heard of. Because remember, I said mass production and the deep tank fermentation, it is penicillin, and that is actual Pfizer's thing. Now, this actually happened in next slide of World War II. The British government actually contacted US. They were like, oh, hey guys, I have issue. We need a lot of penicillin. Because you guys know what penicillin does, right? It helps like the wounded area. It's kind of like a type of antibiotic. So one funny story. So this was known as a wonder drug because it was like the cure. Apparently, if you take penicillin, it gives you the cure of everything. If you have at the time, Jasper Kane tried so many methods to figure out how to, create massive, because no matter what they do, it was only like little by little. They couldn't get anything. So they were like, okay, Pfizer, I'm so sorry. You are making a good profit at the time, but we really need to create this. And Pfizer was like, okay, I could continue or you know what? Okay, I'm gonna stop everything that we're producing right now, focus 100% on figuring out this product. They were like, stop all the production, guys, stop all the production. We're gonna change it all to penicillin. We're gonna try the deep tank fermentation to create massive production. This was a gamble, but guess what? It worked. It worked perfectly, guys. It was amazing. This is what Pfizer is known for, is the massive production. The next few years, they actually were like, this is working great. So what they did was purchased an ice plant with refrigerated equipment containing 7,500 gallons of tank. And in 4-month production, they were able to produce 5 times, guys, 5 times more than they anticipated, which actually became a huge success, winning success in World War II. In the next slide, you can see how this was the deep tank fermentation methodology. That's what happened in World War II. Now moving on to 1952 to 1959. I have all these money from World War II. We're gonna expand. So they expanded to 8 new international locations. So Belgium, Brazil, Canada, Cuba, Mexico, Panama, Puerto Rico, and the UK. And in the next slide, they also created an agricultural division, but now known as the Animal Health Division, with 700 acres of farm and research facility in Indiana. Now, another fun, interesting chemical, basically medicine that was produced was 1967. Next slide. You guys, guess what the molecular compound structure is? Let's get it. It is doxycycline. So Pfizer's products, their product brand name is bibramycin. This was actually invented by Pfizer. So what this is used for is a lot of things. Acne, so face trouble issues, skin or dental issues. They also wrote STIs. I'm not 100% sure. They also were used to prevent malaria. Interesting about this was that it was a first once-a-day broad-spectrum antibiotic. So I'm gonna think this is like the pills that you take once a day instead of like a how it, like medical term it worked was that they actually stopped the growth of bacteria once, the medicine got in. And what cool thing was that obviously the FDA was approved with this medicine. So next slide, you would see this guy with his acne problems. Poor guy, too much acne. And he goes, what should I do with my face? Well, this is what you do. You take the meds, you eat healthy, you drink a lot of water, you sleep right time, and yeah, great medicine. Now, funny story, in next slide, in 1971, as you guys know, this German guy decided to acquire, another German name was Mac-Elatacin. Now what this was manufacturer of pharmaceutical products and chemicals and consumer products for the needs of German marketplaces, but basically having this, it increased their market share and created a central research division. Perfect. Now, another fun thing happened in 1980s to 1990s where it was like medicine. Invention of a bunch of medicines. So the first medicine is this. Now this was, next slide. This was Proxycan, Felden. So what this was, as you guys know, it was for anti-inflammatory. So what this was supposed to do was basically those like skins, when you have like pain in your bones or like anywhere else in your body, you eat or you put on like passe would be a type of these. That's what I'm thinking. Because they said it was for reduced pain or swelling or joint stiffness from any like muscle area. So basically, yeah, reduce inflammation. So how that worked in medical terms was blocking body production of certain natural substance that cause the burn. So like pills or like if you put on thing, they actually block that place, the pain to go there. Their first production actually happened in 1962. But what happened was that their clinical trial actually finished in 1977, so they had to release the product in 1980s. So yeah, we have to thank them. Thank you for getting us some pus. Why I brought this product, a lot of you guys are like, I don't know this product. Well, you guys should, because this was a product that actually made Pfizer reach to a total of $1 billion in sales. Now, if you see the next slide, we just have a bunch of chemistries. Let's go. Let's talk about every single one. Now, excuse my pronunciation. So the first one, glucotrol, is for diabetes. Anacin is an ampicillin sulbactam, which is an injectable antibiotic. Zoloft, which is sertraline hydrochloride. This was to treat depression. This is one of the famous medication out there that's created by Pfizer. And the last one is Norvasc, which is amlodipine, which actually controls the angina, which is a type of chest pain. Money's up on Pfizer. Next thing happened in 1995 is the partnership, or basically owning SmithKline's Beecham. And what that is the animal health business. Fun thing about this was that the animal health division was actually purchased for $1.45 billion. Honestly, when I was reading off why they purchased it, I would have to say that because they weren't, at the time, SmithKline wasn't really having a lot of money at the time. So maybe they had to sell it off and actually focus on more towards like pharmaceutical, medical product. So that's why they sold it off. Kind of fun story in terms of Pfizer was that they were like making them the world leader in developing and production of pharmaceuticals, of livestock and animals. Now, in 1998, this is what everyone has been waiting for, so please pay attention right now. The V, yes, it is the V. It's Viagra. Did you guys know originally Viagra wasn't for what you guys think it was? It was actually for cardiovascular problems. So basically what was supposed to happen was that the British science, they actually wanted to create something to treat high blood pressure and acne. So their intention is, correct me if I'm wrong, was that they wanted to dilate the blood vessels in the heart area. So make the blood like area kind of like expand, the blood vessels expand so that more blood can go through and actually have the heart maybe working faster and everything. And the problem was that they actually created this. They were like, we got it, we got this product. They tested on animals. Animal testing went perfect. You know, heart was pounding, you know, like, it's like, can you feel my heartbeat, you know, everything? And they were at their clinical trial. This was happening in 1991. During the clinical trial, the nurses noticed all the men were like this. I don't know why. I'm just gonna say, I don't know why all men were like this. Oh. And they were having, like, you know, the nurse were like, are you okay? And they were apparently like all shy and everything, but they were all like, oh. So heart wasn't getting, you know, the vessels in heart wasn't getting expanded, actually down there. That's where it was getting expanded. That's where the heart, like the, so, like I said, all men were having erections, and they actually called this the potency pill, which means, you know, it was happening by accident, but we actually need this pill. So, you know what's ironic was that this happened in 2008, where people were like, you know, talking about if you're having problem with erection, contact Pfizer. They got you the right pills, guys. And so in 2008, they actually reached their peak of $1.93 billion. Now, in 2000, it was the merge with Warren Lambert for $110 billion. Their most biggest production was Listerine, you know, goggle, that goggle thing, you guys know? Along with wet shave product from Evershave. Now next in 2002, they created this really nice thing. I thought this was interesting. They actually wanted to improve their health plans, not only to pharmaceutical or animal health, but to insurance or any type of, you know, those like programs for low income people. So if you guys think about back in 2000, it was called a share card where basically, if you meet the qualification of low-income Medicare, their qualification was individual Medicare recipient, including people with disabilities who have Medicare enrolled, must be an annual gross income below 18,000. If you're a couple, it's 24,000. What they did was they were able to have access to 30-day supply of any prescription medicine for a flat rate of $15 per prescription. The reason why they wanted to do this was, if you guys think about the timeline, this is early March. What happened in 2001 was 9/11. So a lot of tragic loss happened. So they wanted to do something really nice for the community, and that's how they started this share card. So great job, Pfizer. Right now, I think they lost the name of share card. So if you want to go to the next slide, they're now known as RX Pathways. So they're still doing something similar, probably not quite exactly like it, but it's still going on program. Now, 2004, next slide, one thing interesting happened. The company had to pay $430 million for promoting drugs to doctors. Shocking. So what happened was that the company actually encouraged doctors to use this type of medicine, Neurontin, as it's called, for patients with bipolar disorder or any like psychological problems. And how they did it was they were like, hey, doctors, take this, you know. And what happened was that the medicine actually wasn't like FDA approval. There was no like approval at the stage, but they just paid doctors to do it. And this actually became like a problem because it's, you know what, illegal. So what did they do to overcome this was, next slide. They listed themselves. They're like, Dow Jones, list me. They were actually added to Dow Jones with Verizon and AIG at the time. Now in 2009, the same thing happened, is another misuse of medicine. Pfizer again paid $2.3 billion. They tried to negotiate, but didn't work. So $1.3 billion was for the criminal fine related to the method of selling Bextra, which was withdrawn from the market in 2005 due to safety concerns. So they actually decided to sell stuff that wasn't able to be sold. And doctors were getting paid. And they also had to pay the other $1 billion for the civil payment related to, you know, the off-label sales of drugs and payment to healthcare professionals. You know, Pfizer, something bad happened, something good's supposed to happen. So next slide. As you guys can see, Pfizer decided to acquire another pharmaceutical company, a biopharmaceutical company this time. Now, this happened in October 15th in 2009. They acquired it, creating a company with a broad range of product and therapy that touch the lives of patients and consumers every day and every stage at the time. So they actually moved intention to bring like innovation more quickly, and so they decided to create two research organizations. First one known as the Pharma Therapeutic Research and Development Group, which focuses on like discovery of small molecules and related drugs. And then the second one was called Biotherapeutic Research and Development Group. And they actually focused on large molecule, including vaccines. So you could kind of assume that maybe the coronavirus was, you know, maybe researched at this place. Moving on to the next slide. In 2016, we just moved on. What happened was that IBM, the Watson Health, and Pfizer decided to have a partnership collaboration to help accelerate Pfizer's research in immuno-oncology. Sounds super fancy, but basically just to treat any cancer treatment that uses the body immune system to help fight cancer. This is actually, yes, was a big news because this collaboration helped increase Pfizer's stock, which we will talk about next, but we will wait. So a little bit something related to this was that we really needed something to treat cancer. IBM probably has the data, the technology to support the data, probably a lot of good IT technology, and Pfizer, a very good pharmaceutical and then combined would probably, hopefully, be able to produce a very nice cancer curing medicine. Now, let's see Pfizer in 2021. So if you want to go. Ta-da, that's the stock. You know, fun story here is that, do you see that dip? That's when you see that 2004, they talked about, oh, did they just like, you know, they paid the doctors? That's the start of the downfall. And by 2011, that's when it hit the bottom. But from that on, with all these like partnership with Wyeth and like IBM, they also had other like important partnerships. It started going up, and then COVID hit. Ta-da! So now they're using everything to like find the cure for COVID. So as you guys probably know the recent news, I'll just mention Pfizer and the German partner, I don't know, Pfizer, you really like German, by the way. BioNTech is called, BioNTech. So as you guys know, this is just kind of the outline of what's being happened with the Pfizer's current vaccine. They started their partnership in April 2020. And in November 2020, the phase 3 clinical trial had the result of very successful. I think it was like 95%, where you take 2 doses with 21 days in between. So now they are actually being able to be sold. After their third clinical trial was success, they submitted a request for emergency use authorization from FDA. So now they were hoping to produce 50 million in 2020 and up to 1.3 billion in 2021. Perfect. And another interesting that I found was, if you click on the next slide, they wrote. So they were actually self-funded with billions of dollars already invested at risk. The company will continue bearing all the costs of developing and manufacturing in an effort to help find a solution to the pandemic as fast as possible. So they are actually, it kind of reminds me of the penicillin at the time of World War I. Guys, I used to end with quote from the CEO, but you know, like this is an 1800s company and I don't know if they even have one. So I'm going to start a new method of ending my company review of, next slide. Why you should buy Pfizer stock. But it's kind of fun to see what people wrote. So this is kind of like the top 5 reasons. I summed it up to the like 7, 8, 9 reasons. 5 reasons that I like personally. It was, first, the stock pays dividends since 2010. It was increasing, so they were maybe assuming that by some time it will continue to increase. They don't see any other reason not to increase. Probably the only reason not to increase would be if they again pay doctors to sell drugs. That's illegally, you know? Second was to keep getting ready for the future. So they started off with penicillin. They got some like heart congestion, heart, thing, and then they got Viagra, kind of surprisingly. They're always ready for the future, and they recently partnered with IBM in 2016. So, seeing a lot of future potentials in the future. Third one, the COVID vaccine sale. It is amazing, guys. People are taking it right now. They do have their competitor of Moderna. I don't know how that's going, but it's still getting there. 4 is that it's really good products that are being sold even till this day. Viagra. Not just saying Viagra, but that's probably the most well-known of everyone, the blue pills. And 5th, high and increasing high demands. Perfect. So that's all for today's company review. I hope you guys all liked it. Don't forget to follow me on Twitch, YouTube, and any other thing.